Do. Is it on now? It doesn't look like it. Huh. I don't know. Says in broadcast, self streaming. Looks like everything is going. There's a view counter. I think we're live. Did I finally get it back on there? Hopefully we're on there now. So I just did like 3 minutes worth of talking, and I wasn't actually recording. And that's fun. So that's okay. We're just gonna go back through there, and I'll call that my little dress rehearsal. So welcome to Pieces of Pat Paints. I'm Pat. This is the studio. We paint all sorts of different things. Right now we're painting a witch for Halloween. Well, actually, it's for Christmas, for Halloween. No. My mother loves Halloween, and so I'm painting this figurine for her. She doesn't like it when I buy her things. I think most people's mothers have, a lot of them get to that point where they're like, oh, stop buying me stuff. But I guess probably not all of them. There's probably several ladies out there that still like to get presents. I'll probably be that old guy. I'm probably going to be like, no, buy me something. I don't care what it is. Buy me a candy bar. But go out and work and make some money. Anyway, so if you were here last time, or the last several times, we've been working on this young lady. She's a very pretty witch. She's not one of the ugly crones. So we were trying to paint her as such and give her some nice pretty legs and some good looking hair. We went ahead and we're gonna go with like a reddish color for the hair. I still haven't figured out what I'm gonna paint the stone, but since it's a black cloak sitting on stone, I can deal with that later. So we're gonna keep working on the rest of this witch, and then we'll come in when it's time to finish up down here. We'll worry about the stone. Today we are gonna start picking out all the little details and finishing up all of those things to make this really finish off some of the models. And hopefully, if we're lucky, between today and tomorrow, we'll have this done and we can move on to the next thing we're going to do. But only plugging away like an hour at a time while I'm talking about everything that I'm doing takes a lot of time. And that's kind of what's fun about being able to pick some of these really cool pieces and do this online and show people kind of how I do things and what I do. It'll be neat to be able to kind of, I'll work on other projects as I'm going, but then save these projects for these, and then maybe we'll do a few more like longer formats on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I have a very limited amount of time, so I am a dad of 4 people, and I 4 little peoples, and I have a lovely committed partnered relationship that I have to maintain as well, so I can't spend all of my time painting all the time. But I figure we could get at least an hour in on a couple pieces a week, and or an hour in a day on a few pieces over a span of a week. That's probably more legitimate in how I should have said that. So anyway, here we are. We've put the washes on, and like I explained before when I wasn't actually recording, she has had about 5 rounds of wash on her, and I used a raw umber as the wash. I like to use the raw umber. Like I said in the last program, it's a darker kind of dirty look. It makes things look more real. It makes it look more weathered, rustic. Well, there's all sorts of words you could use to describe that. So looks like I've got 2 viewers. I bet you one of them's my lovely partner, as I was talking about before, and one of them might be my phone that's on, but that's okay. I'll take 2. I like it. Nope, somebody jumped back off, or maybe they didn't. I don't know. I'm really trying to learn how all of that works, but I finally got a little thing over there that like tells me that there's stuff happening. I still haven't actually seen a comment yet, so I don't know if that little thing I put up there is gonna tell me if people are commenting or not. One day we're gonna find out, I think, and I'm gonna probably be shocked, which is that's a lot of fun. So we gotta pick a weapon here. Oh, and we'll take a look at the the wet palette here, the homemade wet palette we have, which is fun. Like I think this was like a bunch of clips from my daughter's hair, and I snafu'd this box when she was done with it, and I was like, oh, that's gonna make a perfect palette. And you can make a white palette really easy. I'll probably go into how we do this when we change out the color. Whenever we finish the switch up, we'll change out the color and we'll talk about how I made that work and stuff like that for folks that don't know. So, because I'm feeling like hopefully we'll pick up a lot of people who don't know a whole lot about how to do these things, and we can help them get better, as well as having a good time with each other and having some good laughs and things like that. Oh, okay. So we are definitely time for some big commitment pieces here. First of all, we'll take a look at these legs. And you can see where these washes, and like I said, there's about 5 rounds of washes. Towards the end, it was getting pretty thick and dry, and it was drying out on me, which is good and bad. So good in one way. It helped us get this nice dark line here between our legs, which we want to make that shadow real deep, which is awesome. We want to do that. But on the other side, we accidentally got that little guy. Now, normally when I was doing this, I would have cleaned that off while I was making the deal, like I showed you yesterday. But I wanted to leave it on there so you can kind of see what it would look like if it does pool in the wrong place, and what that's going to look like, and to kind of how to know where you're at with that. Luckily, this one is right here on the shin, so we're going to be able to fix this pretty easy. Remember, always keep a little bottle of water, and keep some fresh water going, because when your brush water starts to get dirty, if you need to add a little water to a paint, you'll need that. And today we do, because our flesh tone, we want this pretty thin, because what we don't want to do is cover up some of, but not all of the work we did with our washes. So we're trying to bring out the edges that the sun is going to hit. So you got to think, okay, my light is coming like this down on her, right? Oop, there we go. So it's coming down on her like this, right? So I want to think about my sun is going to just bounce off the edge of this leg. It's coming down here. So everything that's exposed, this leg is going to be brighter than that leg, but this kneecap is probably going to be some of the brightest areas on there. And you always want to kind of think about where the light is coming from and how the light is going to work, okay? Also, be cognizant that you're aware that your paint is going to change color when it dries. So that's a thing to remember. It will brighten up. So if you're like, oh man, I wish that was just a little bit brighter, well, maybe let it dry out and find out. And I've seen some paints that dry a little darker, so it would probably be dependent on the paints. But most of them, they seem like they dry out a little bit lighter, in my opinion. At least these lighter tones, they'll come out a little bit lighter when they dry. Unless you've got something dark underneath it, I guess. I don't know. And I think some paints, like I said, you need to really pay attention to what your paints do. Like some paints, like this fleshy color I have, which isn't actually flesh, it is called. I kept all these over here so we could pick them up and talk about them when we needed to. Watch me have moved this one I need. Not that one. Oh, well. There you go. And I did move it. I think this one's called the terracotta is what this is actually called, which I don't even think it looks like pale terracotta. So I don't even think it looks like that. All right, so since we're working with the flesh, we're going to go ahead and come in here and finish off her face too. We got a little tiny stray hair right there. Isn't that wild? It's probably one of my cats. They're fun, but oof. Okay, so I want to come in here and I'm going to lighten up just the edge of her nose here. Okay. A little of her brow. Be super careful not to put too much color up here too fast, because you can really just all of a sudden streak off into nothing, and then you got a problem. So we're going to get rid of some of these mistakes, but not all of it, because we want to use some of that wash area to give us that depth, you know, from the shading. This takes a lot of concentration, so definitely don't do this while your kids are going crazy in your house or something. You definitely want to do this part when you can have your hand as steady as possible, because faces are the hardest, in my opinion. I think hands are even easier to paint. They're not. It's different when you're drawing. When you have to draw it, that's the other way around. Hands are way harder. But when you're painting, faces are difficult. Okay. Ooh, that light's crazy, isn't it? There we go. You can see her on the camera. Sorta, kinda. So, from here, I'm just gonna kinda do the same thing over and over again. Probably add a little bit. Oh, we're gonna need some sort of a tone for her lips. So I'll probably take a little bit of this vermilion, which is kind of like a red, and a little bit of that same pinky flesh tone I have, and I'm going to mix them because we want to bring out her lips. Ooh. This is the part that always makes me nervous. As if you get it right, it's going to look great. If you get it wrong, then it's time to break out the water and get it off of there really fast. And you hope you get the right color too, because sometimes the color doesn't look right either. Well, it might actually be a little too too bright. She looks like she's getting ready to go out to the rave and not out to the coven. So we're just going to come back with just a little bit more of that pink over top of it, real watered down, right? And hopefully we can tone it down just a bit and just pink out her lips instead of getting too crazy there. I even have to put just a little bit of that brown back in it. Just to mute it down just a bit. There we go. I gotta figure out how to get the thing to focus better. I think maybe my light is too close. That's a whole lot better, right? All right, so yeah, I like that. Now, if I'm going to do like eyeballs, I'm going to do those at the very, very end. And that's when I add in all the little details. So we're going to wait and do that later. But we still have a little bit of flesh to finish up. We got to pull out her hand, which is over. We got one over here on this side. And we just want to be super careful. And again, we're just trying to kind of hit the highlights here. You're not trying to really take away too much of the work you did with your wash. Because that's I mean, why would you have done the wash if you're just going to paint over it? I've seen a lot of people do that sort of thing too, where they'll put a wash on it and then they're painting over everything that they washed, and you're like, but why? I suppose it's just to wash one little section or something. I don't really know. I try not to judge other people's work, but sometimes I don't understand why you would do certain things certain ways. Which is why I started my own channel, I suppose. Now, I could come in here and she's got a little bit of her arm exposed there and a little bit of her arm exposed there. But I feel like our wash really did our work there for us. You can see that pretty good in the camera too. So I feel like that's kind of done there for us, which is great. Love that. That's as good as it gets. You don't have to mess with it. Okay, so we're going to start just working our way down, I guess, and we will just a little bit more. Right there. I'm going to apply her chin just a little bit more too. There we go. Probably couldn't even see me with it down like that. I'm just kind of, all I'm doing is just adding a few little strokes to her chin and the tips of her nose. Just a few little lines of extra paint just to bring out the tips. It'll help make her face stand out more. I think we got a little bit of slop underneath here too. I'm going to clean that up while I'm here. Oh, there we go. So like right underneath her face, she's got a little bit of debris, whatever you want to call it. I'm just going to clean that up. There we go. It's funny, she does kind of look like my sister, but with red hair. My sister has blonde hair. Not that that matters. Oh, and look at me. I forgot to get my trusty paper towel. So I always like to keep that paper towel with me. And I'll fold mine into thirds. I suppose everybody's kind of got a different way they like to do these sort of things, but I fold mine in thirds, and it's rough. I'm not worried about being super straight or anything. But just press it down. I use that to, as you guys have seen, I'll roll my brushes out on it. Okay. Now we've got to really start working on this hair as it comes down. And we're going with pretty red hair. So let's get a little bit of red and a little bit of that vermilion. Oof, man, that looks like maybe too red, really. We might have to tone that down with just a little bit of brown. And that is a burnt umber that I used there. So cadmium, I got it right that time, cadmium orange and a vermilion with a little bit of burnt umber. Alright, I'm going to come through, and all I'm trying to do right now is just trying to barely wisp into some of these details. Just slightly touch it. Bring it all back out. Hopefully, if I'm just gentle enough, I'll pick up the very tops of all of this hair, and we can leave everything else in there the way it is, all our wash and that darker red underneath. It's a whole lot easier on the bigger spaces because we're going to pull out the dry brush and we're going to do it there. But when you get into these little spaces, sometimes it's easier just to try and kiss it and just do a little bit of work like that. And hopefully you've got your washes in there really well and your base color to kind of help you a little bit. And I'm sure there's guys out there that can dry brush in that tiny little crack, but I sure as heck can't. I can't get in there on her little hair right there and dry brush. I can dry brush all that in the back. That I can do. But trying to dry brush down in that little bitty place, nah, blood. So, like I said, you can see I'm just barely kissing these little areas. I'm really trying to make sure that I take care of any spots that's gonna be from when I maybe touched it with my flesh tones when I was working on that, or if I got too much wash on the top of it and not enough on the, or too much to make it look right. It'll look kind of like that shin did, where you can tell that it took too much of the wash got on there. Well, let's see. I like it. All right, I'll put a little bit more of this white, and we're going to start going through. I need to get a lot of that off of there. All right, so same thing here. I don't want to get rid of all my wash work, but I do want to really bring out this white on here because it's going to look so good, especially when we turn that skeleton to bone. Right there, her pendant. It's another one of her birds. She had so many dang bird skulls on there. She might just be called the bird lady. You can see how I'm ending too, right before I get to the edge of the hair, to keep that wash to help me get that divide. And here, I really want this white to play through the middle of this. But I want that wash to help me out. Painting white is so difficult to begin with. Again, make sure you're running your brush strokes with the direction of the fabric, or keep them all in one direction if you can. That is the best way to go. Or, like I said, pull them out in the direction the fabric would go, whichever direction that is. Alright, so you can see we're leaving some of that wash in there to really help us pull out those accents. It's really going to finish, she's going to look really nice finished off. And my white at this point is kind of just sitting on there. Oh, you can see it to focus. Come on, baby. All the way up in your face. There we go. Money. So you can see right there. Ooh, try to do it. We're leaving a little bit of that wash in there to really bring that out, right? Okay. And I'm going to leave her chest alone too, because it's going to, now it looks great. See, you got nice flesh color there, but it's also darkened up and it's got our layers to it. And did it really quickly without having to do too much shading on our own. When you're having to shade things in manually, it's a lot more difficult. Okay, where were we? I guess we're down to her shirt. So what we're going to do here is we're going to come in with our phthalo green, which is one of my favorite colors of green. I'm not a big green fan all the time. I use a lot of green, but I'm not usually like a big fan of it. But man, I do love me some phthalo. It's pretty pretty. Me not being a big fan of green is a joke. That if you know me really well, you're laughing really hard. I'm a fan of a football club, and our arch rivals are green, so we're which was a good weekend for us. It was a bad weekend for them. They got so mad they booed Santa. And if you're one of their fans, you know who you are. And now that's funnier. I love a good little bit of banter. It's always fun. That's the best part about sports, I think, is the banter we all get to have with each other. Okay. Alright, a little bit of green in there. Right now, I'm just, like I did with the other stuff, I'm really just trying to get in these areas where maybe the wash is taking away too much of the color, and we want to pull the color back out a little bit. Or here on these edges, where I really want to kind of help highlight the colors that's already there. And we're going to come back when that dries, and we're going to probably give it even more of a highlight. We'll come back with this really light, not that light green, but that more mossy green. There we go. I'm just trying to hit those edges. Just the edges. And this little deep valley here, like, it definitely got a lot more wash in it than we really wanted. So we're going to bring that till it looks like it's about right. It's probably hard to tell the difference on camera, but it is definitely getting there. And we're going to come back and we'll do a different color on all these strings here, but that's going to be in the next step. We want to let all this dry before we get to that, so it doesn't start to like rub it and blur it away or change colors, or there's a lot of different things can go on. And then you're in trouble. So work down the model, come back to that later. Now, so these white cuffs did not take as much of the wash on them, so I'm just going to leave them alone. They look great. They already kind of match our coify part. We're not going to touch them. Just going to leave them. We're going to do her little corset here, though. We wanted to get it real orange by the time it was done. We had done it in vermilion to begin with. So now we're going to come back with our actual orange. Cadmium orange. We're just going to barely touch the edges of the top of this to start off with. Like I said, the wind is really blowing out here, so one of these days I'm going to figure out exactly how to get the camera to focus in just right. Sometimes I can catch it, sometimes I can't. That's my next big project. Learning how to get the camera to focus properly. And don't be afraid if you mess up. We'll just come back and fix it. That's how it goes. Okay. Alright, so same thing. I kind of just want it where the sun is going to hit it. We want to bring a little bit more of that orangey color in, especially on this side. That sun's really going to be coming in, or the light. It may not be the sun. She is a witch after all. She might be out in the middle of the night. We don't know. Doesn't really matter. So again, if you mess up, we're just going to go ahead and get ourselves a little bit of this sienna. come back in and clean that up real quick, and nobody's the wiser. We'll blend those colors right away, right? Check, take a look around. Because and another reason I like to use that umber is it's not the black. If you try to put black in there to kind of like hide that crack, then now all of a sudden it's going to be super black, and you're all the way back down on trying to fix this model. But if you've used these nice brown washes, you just come back and that one little area where my paint got away from me, totally fixed. Can't hardly tell where I did it, which is exactly what we got. I did, however, find a little piece of her hair I missed, because that's how that goes. If you ever painted minis, you'll know how all of a sudden things will sneak up on you, and you're like, oh, God, I missed that piece. How did I miss it? It was right in front of me. But you missed it. Then you gotta fix it. There we go. Yes. I like it a lot. Oh, what time is it? 1:35. We've been going for half an hour. That's pretty good. So, we've now made it down into her belt. It looks like we've got a couple of places here where we could put in some stonework if we wanted to. Let's go ahead and have our jewels, if you will. Something worked into there, isn't it? So we're going to put a little bit of brass on it first. She got another one over here. It looks like maybe that's supposed to be the buckle. Metallic paint really likes to get away from me. It'll dry. Any of the other ones will dry out last. It's always the metallics that dry out first on me. But this is pretty good. We were able to save this palette from, when did we start this project? Friday. So we've been sitting on this same palette since Friday. And that's the advantage to that wet palette. Had I been squeezing these out onto dry things, they'd have been a part of my ball of dried paint by now. The ball of dried paint chips. One of these days I'm going to do something with them. I just don't know what. Oof, I got a little bit of water, too much of that red water in there. My water has turned red from this morning. I was working on a Santa Claus with my lovely daughter, who's a lot of fun. There we go. So, since we got the brass out, I'm going to pull this ring out again after its nice wash. It's settled down in there real good for us, which is exactly what we want to see. We're just going to pull it back out. Our bubbles are in pretty good shape here. Okay, what else? Didn't we have one on our hand? We were going to do this. Let's see. Well, since we're working on those bracers, let's go ahead and pull our leather color back out again. All these places where, again, what we're doing is we're trying to get paint where the light would hit, and not worry so much where it wouldn't. I'll let the wash do the work on the spots that are supposed to be darker. Oof, my nose is itching. And I don't even think we need to touch those skulls on top. I think the wash did the trick for us there. This little other thing here. And I said, I'm working down this model as I'm going and just checking and checking and checking and checking. We gotta be real careful here. What we don't want to do is take away the details from the work down there where the wash did that work. So we're going to get that spot right there that should be fleshy, or should be a little brighter. Especially this spot that's sitting right on top of the flesh. Try to create that little bit of a divide. Okay. The boots, they're the same color as the bracers. So again, same thing. What we're trying to do is just pull out these tops where the light is. Pull out the edges where the lights are. And let the wash do the rest of the work for us. Might come back later, put in like a dark color on the actual soles and the heels. Come back again with a burnt sienna or something like that. Yeah. Should start to look fancy. I like it. Okay, so we're down to this cape. I still haven't decided what I'm going to do with that. I really got to make a choice here. Now just leave it black, right? Put a little gray on there just to kind of show some color. We got to be real careful to not get too much paint here because we'll lose every bit of this. Just barely hit the tips of it. Just the part that's sticking up. We don't want to push the brush down into it. And a little bit of gray. There we go. That really helped bring it out, didn't it? Okay. All right, now keep working this cloak. Oh, got a little too much paint on there, huh? Try to keep my paint out of the metal shaft of the deal. Foil, or whatever you want to call it. Alright, so we did all the dark paint. We're going to green this. This one is not quite as dark as that other purple. So we're going to give it we're going to use it for this next round. I'm going to take care of all of the little mistakes from painting flesh or whatever. Alright. I want this to be pretty darn dark, this one, and then the next round we're going to get its highlights. But we need to get it all the way darkened down and smoothed out. Make sure the purple is nice and clean looking. Purple's another one of those things where it's really hard to get it, the deep layers of effective purple. Some people struggle with that. And the true trick is to layer it up color by color. And you need 3 different purples to do it. You can't do it with one purple and a white, really. Not and get this full breadth of the color change to it. That skirt gonna be purple. Okay. Let's see. I just want to take out just this little mud spot's been bothering me a little bit. So I'm gonna add a little bit of this pink right to her. And then just a tiny wisp of the raw umber. And we're just going to smooth this crack out. And if we need to, we'll pull a little bit more flesh. There was just a line. I didn't like the way that line looked. It looked like she was muddy or something. I don't know. I don't like it. Again, that's my back leg, so I really need to bring a little bit more of that shadow back to it. It's a little bit too bright. There we go. And you just kind of go back and forth. Little tiny bits of, little tiny watery amounts of paint at a time. You get it set up the way you like. There we go. That's lovely. That looks nice. All right, so we're gonna let our skirt finish drying, so we can come back and finish that up. And then I feel like we can go ahead and get started on this, which is going to be fun. We're going to do this with a dry brush, and we'll come back and we're gonna paint this that same leather color we've done here and on her bracers. But we want to wait till we're done doing all the other dry brushing to do that. So let's see. I got this. I like this guy. This is an Army painter. They make a bunch of these kind of little ones. I got this for a birthday present. I've seen a lot of people use like, oh, that's a cat hair. That's not even. I've seen a lot of people use different brands and stuff like that. I don't know that the brand really makes that much of a difference, if I'm honest. So you just want to, I mean, it's dry brushes are good. You could use, heck, back in the day we used to use makeup brushes. Makeup sponge brushes worked great. So we just want to kind of get a little bit of the color off of it, and then we're gonna. Again, this is another one of those where we're trying to work with the direction of our light source. And our light source, again, is coming down this way on her. So we don't really want to worry about doing the bottom of this. We just want to get the top. And I'm hitting this up with a Naples yellow on the top. I use a lot of Naples yellow and burnt sienna and raw umber and yeah. Okay. And I'm just really flicking at it. I'm not pushing it down in it. I'm just tipping it. Just a little bit. All right. All right, now I'm going to get this little bit of this yellow cadmium because, you know, I'm still learning, still getting better at saying Cadmium. My whole life, I've been having trouble with that word. And this little bit of yellow is really going to give us that. Now it looks like that classic straw broom, you know. And then, like I said, the color itself will kind of, I say lighten up, and that's not really the right term. It's not like light. It's not like it gets brighter. It doesn't. It actually like mutes. It like the intensity of the color itself mutes down. So like, if it's really bright ass yellow at first, it's probably not going to be like super bright ass yellow later. The color is going to mute. Before I get somebody going and saying like, oh, now it gets darker, and it's like, oh, I mean, you could say that, yeah, you could say it gets darker, but it really is like the color itself loses its luster, like it mutes. Make sure you clean this guy out real good. They really lay. That's the thing with these brushes, is that you really want to clean them out, because if not, the bristles won't play nice later. And we need it to play nice later. We really do. Okay, so all that done. I think we're dry up here on the chest now, so we can come in here with this mossy green. It's actually a, what's the name of it? See, now I keep all these colors over here, and then I lose them. I don't know, I usually keep all my colors over there, just where they're supposed to be. I think it's a moss green. It's either called moss green or sap green. It doesn't really look like sap, though, does it? It looks like moss. Certain things get these names, and I'm like, man, how'd you get that name? And this is really just a tiny little streak. And that may be too much. It really is. See, that's too much. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some of our phthalo and some of our moss green. And we're going to try that. Just trying to get a little bit of a... See, that's still too bright for us. Right? As long as you get to this really quickly, you'll be alright. Because we're just trying to shine up the area here. And again, I could probably do this with a dry brush as well, but I don't want to get in here with that dry brush and mess up any of this other work I've done. So I'm gonna try and just pick out the edges of things myself. Yeah, that's a whole lot better. Maybe give me a little more of the... There we go. I don't want it too dark in the end. So I gotta lighten it up. But I don't want to take away all that little bit of shading I got from my darker green and the wash I used. So I want to be very, very careful here. We want to lighten it up to give it the highlights, but we don't want to lose it. Kind of like the same thing we did with the orange over the top of the vermilion. And Again, I'm keeping my brush strokes pretty organized. Trying not to get too loosey-goosey. When you get to these finishing touches, you definitely want to keep your brush strokes under control. So it'll help give you that last final effect you need. Because you can simulate that light movement with your brush strokes, but you really have to focus on which way you're going with it to do that. See, in this back arm, it's almost completely covered, so it doesn't really need much extra at all. We just need to kind of hit that little edge there, and maybe that little edge there, and just a little bit back here so we can see it and know that it's there. Just this tiny kiss. Yeah. Heck yeah. You can see how she's starting to come out a little bit more. A little bit more, a little bit more. And we're a little edgy, right? A little funky looking right here. Real easy again. We're just gonna go ahead and pull up some of that umber. Use that water from right there. Get that muddiness. Just kind of dab that in there a little bit, and then bring it up, and that'll help mute that down. Which may have been too much. In which case we can come back in just a little bit more. And that one's, I got it super liquidy there, so it'll kind of drip down for us just a little bit. And fade more into that, almost more like a wash. And it'll fade it a little bit more for us. That's why it's super important to learn how to work with like a bunch of different levels of water and this and that and the other thing as you go. So we're starting to look really, really, really good. We're done with our hour for today, and we're going to get back tomorrow, and this will probably be done tomorrow. Which would put, you know, just what's that, 3, 4, 5 hours on this tops to get this piece done. And this is a pretty big, I mean, it's a pretty decent sized piece. You can see the scale of it. I'm sure you noticed with my fingers all over it. But anyway, so she's looking really good. Tomorrow we're going to come back in. We'll dry brush out her hair. We'll talk more about dry brushing because we're going to have to dry brush this cloak too. And we'll start looking at the details. I still got to pick color for my stone down here. I'm leaning towards maybe like a slate, multicolored slate of some sort, but I haven't decided what kind. And we'll see when we get down there. And that should be about it. Thanks for anybody who did come by. We had a couple of different viewers stop in, which was awesome. So for whoever came by and watched this, I really appreciate that. If you did, hopefully you're either subscribed to us or you're going to subscribe right now or subscribe during this stream. Definitely need more subscribers, and so if I can get monetized, I can blow the money on more art stuff, and we can have more fun stuff to paint. So, and that's kind of my idea. And hopefully people like my jam. I'm trying to be pretty low key, and you know, I just do what I do, and if you like what I do, then do it that way. If you like the way somebody else is doing it, do it their way. That's cool too. Doesn't bother me. And hopefully you're having a great time with your own hobbies. If there's any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll try to answer them as best I can. And you know, and take everything I say with a grain of salt, because I'm not like super professional artist or anything. I was a chef before I did this. But you know, now I don't have anything else to do but paint and talk to you wonderful people, and it's a lot of fun. So we'll take one more look at her from where we're standing at right now, and this is where she's at currently. We're gonna go ahead and finish her up. I think I'll probably have it done tomorrow. I think we'll be done tomorrow, which would be awesome. And we've got, because I've got piles of Necrons and Oh, I think I have some Princess Bride characters around here I want to paint up, and there's a bunch of other stuff. I've got, oh gosh, I've got so many. I've got so many things I need to paint. Miniature people have a thing they call the pile of shame, and that my pile of shame is huge. So anyway, that is going to bring us up to almost there. I hope you had a great time with us today, and we were going to see it tomorrow. I've got to go pick up kiddos from school. It's their last week for Christmas break, or holiday break. Whatever it is you celebrate, I definitely don't judge either way. It's not my business. So I hope you have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow. Might be able to get a little bit of a longer show in tomorrow. I don't have to go running around anywhere, so we might just go ahead and paint till this little witch girl is done, and then wrap that one up. And if we don't see you tomorrow, maybe we'll see you the next day. And have a great one. Bye.